All right, so the next part of the meeting, Mom and Kayla, that I want to make sure that we take a look at and go through are Kayla's procedural safeguards, which are her legal protections and rights that you have on behalf of her as a student receiving special education support. So I just want to give you this packet. This is the formal packet that is the Notice of Procedural Safeguards and the parental rights within the public schools. I am just going to highlight this since it's a pretty dense packet. So as I go through some of these highlights, really it's the district's obligation as we frame this up is to make sure that we are obligated to provide her free and appropriate public education within that least restrictive environment so that we're challenging her with all of her strengths and her areas of needs. Also do know that you have a right to participate in all of those decisions regarding her special education and related services. And Kayla, I would extend that to you to make sure that you have agency and voice, that if you want to share any of your concerns or any of your needs, that we'll make sure that as a team, we really try to capture those. And then Mom, just really know that if there's any type of additions or changes or denial to services that you do have, we'll provide you with a written notice. So we'll capture a little bit more of that towards the end of the meeting. But anything that is added or changed, it comes in a fancy document. It's called a prior written notice. So you do have 14 calendar days to take a look at it and review it. And you can sign within that time. And then if we don't hear back from you in those 14 days, then that's when the team assumes passive consent. The district assumes passive consent, and then we can go ahead and implement any of those services. Okay. So again, I'll capture that though towards the end of the meeting. And then also know that you have the right to view or request copies of Kayla's educational records. And then, of course, you always have the right to disagree with the district if you have some of those concerns, and we'll go through the due process system. We've got other team players that can come around the table as we can kind of mediate and work through some of that process. So there is a formal disagreement process. But with that, we always welcome your input. You're the strongest advocate for Kayla. And so if you ever have concerns, please reach out to us and we'll make sure that we connect with you, okay?
Sure.
Awesome. Do you have any questions about that?
I've been reading a little bit online. Just it's a little bit confusing between free and appropriate public education and least restrictive environment.
Yeah.
Can you differentiate those for me?
Yeah. Those are big words. I love how Miss Danielson, our principal, puts it. So I think she does a great job capturing it to our parents.
Yeah. So in education, we love our acronyms, right? So there's a lot. I think it's a great question. So we often talk about it as FAPE in the LRE. So what it ultimately means is we want to challenge Kayla make sure she's making progress and challenging her, but giving her the appropriate level of support. So we want her in general education with her same age peers as much as possible of her day, but then really being intentional about what times of the day is she not with general education peers so that we can work on those areas that are a challenge to her.
Sure. Thank you. That was really helpful.
Yeah, it's a great
Awesome.
question.
Good question, Mom.